Hello there, Pete Brooker from Tailors with Love. Today I'm going to do a short review on Living, starring Bill Nighy, and it's available on Amazon Prime here in the UK. And for you Bond nuts out there, there is a tenuous Bill Nighy connection, so I'll reveal that at the end of the video. So to come, I'll offer some thoughts on where to get the look, some quotes from the costume designer, and some general thoughts on the film. So this film is in fact a reboot of the Living Dead saga and is set sometime during the return of the Living Dead and the Night of the Living Dead. That can't be right. Sorry. Wait, doesn't he get called Mr. Zombie at some point?
Mr. Zombie.
Mr. What?
Moving on. So Rotten Tomatoes has Living 96% with the critics, 84% with the audience. Although not to everyone's liking, one audience critic had this to say about Living. The highlight of this film was when he got a new hat. Truly the most tedious, dull, painfully vacuous film I've ever seen, and I've seen a few. Presumably the other few he is referring to is Schindler's List, Citizen Kane, or The Mission. Although technically he'd be right about The Mission. That film sucks balls. So what is Living about? Well, it's about 1 hour and 42 minutes. Living is fundamentally a film about a man, Mr. Williams, played by Bill Nighy, who has awoken from a monotonous dream to find death at his door. His place in the world has become an endless loop of bureaucracy, his life not worth the stack of paper it's buried under. Mr. Williams then decides it's time to have fun, and what screams fun more than throwing endless dosh into a teddy picker? In fact, in the week that Cormac McCarthy died, the film reminded me of one of his quotes: "Life is brief, and to have to spend every day of it doing what somebody else wants you to do is not the way to live it." Deep. Moving on, so Mr. Williams has one suit in the entire film. And in an interview with Vanity Fair, the costume designer Sandy Powell says this: "The suit found for Mr. Williams was from the London costume house Angels and was from the late 30s or early 40s, hence the wider shoulders that Nighy asked his tailor, Martin Nichols, to bring in. The men were fitted for custom-made bowler hats from Lock & Co hatters, an item she couldn't acquire vintage." In another interview with Awards Radar, Sandy goes on to say, "We actually started by trying on many suits. I got many suits over a 10-20 year period because the film is set in the early 50s. A man of his age and his character would not be wearing a brand new suit. He wouldn't buy a new suit every year. He would have a suit that was 20, possibly 30 years old. If you don't notice the costumes, if they're not distracting, then they're doing their job." So that's all I managed to find out about the clothes. Let's see if we can shop the look. Well, as we all know, the costumes were hired, so we can't buy direct from the brand, at least with the suit. For versions of the pinstripe suit, you might want to check out brands like Suit Supply. Soho tailor Mark Powell always does strong pinstripe suits as well, and there's always going to be bargains to be found on eBay. This Ben Sherman pinstripe even has the same button configuration. That said, the fabric on all of these alternatives will almost certainly be lighter than the 50s one worn by Mr. Williams. Bowler you can get from Lock & Co for about 575 sheets. There are of course ones you can find on eBay for around 50 quid, and there's always cheap crap on Amazon. There is also pattern ties, navy and white, bamboo handled umbrellas. They can be bought from James Smiths and Sons, and I'll leave all the links over on the blog below. They're my fault. It's a very, very quiet performance from Bill Nighy. It's very restrained, it's disciplined, it's got a lot of candor. You almost want him to just shake out of it sometimes and get angry and lose his shit and throw a filofax or something. But no, he's very, very considered all the way through. In fact, one of the characters even asks him, "Why don't you get angry? Don't you get angry?" And he just goes, "I don't have time to get angry," which kind of sums up the film. The only downside really of a film like this is that anyone outside of the UK will believe this is how the British behave. It's not. This is how the British behave. I filmed this outside of my window a few years ago. That's life. That's life in UK. One for all the family, though not for kids, because let's face it, you don't want to get them on the slippery slope of teddy pickers. That just leads to fruit machines, online gambling, and then heroin. Tenuous Bond connection.
You sound like a cop to me.
Who's your connection?
Okay, at the start of the show, I asked what the tenuous Bill Nighy connection was for Bond, and it's, of course, Bill Nighy narrating the audiobook for Moonraker back in 2012. Congrats to everyone that got it right. You win nothing. So that's it. See you next time.